Good morning, children. I hope you have seen the previous video about the parliamentary and presidential form of government, right? Their features, their differences. Clear, everyone. So, I hope so we have understood by now what form of government do we have in India, America, and Britain. And these all are there in your syllabus. You have to, read about India, and with India, comparative, and along with India, you need to read about UK and American, right? Presidential and parliamentary form of government. Clear, everyone. Like USA presidential form and UK the parliamentary form of government. Clear, everyone. So I'm going to start today the new chapter, that is chapter 4, the Indian Constitution. So I'm going to give you the in-depth about the Constitution, what is the Constitution all about, and it's not a new topic, right? We have already did in class 9th. Clear, everyone, about the Constitution, its features, clear, its preamble, everything I'm going to discuss in depth about this chapter in the upcoming videos as well as the present videos. Clear? So let's start with the definition of Constitution. What is the Constitution all about? Now, if you see the Constitution, if you go for Constitution, right, to live by the rule of the Constitution, wrote Aristotle, right? What happened? Constitution, as has developed since times very ancient, has now led to a universal recognition in favor of the existence of a self-made constitution for each state. The people of each state have the right and freedom to have a self-made constitution under which a democratic system of self-government can be organized and operationalized by them. As everyone knows, our country, India, right? So if you go in simple words, we can define a constitution as a basic design of the organization and power of the government of the state, right? It tells us the power. It is a constitutional law of the land, right? Supreme or the fundamental law. No law move beyond that, right? Constitution is supreme. Clear? The government is organized and it performs its all function in accordance with the constitution of the state, which lays down the nature of relation between the people, their government. A modern constitution necessarily involves a charter of the rights and duties of its citizen. So I hope so. Till now, you people have understood what is the Constitution all about as a basic design of the organization, right? As Lewis said, the term Constitution signify the arrangement and distribution of the sovereign power in the community or the form of government. All power, all organs, all rights and duties are written in the Constitution. Clear? Constitution is a book or a document according to which the government works. Clear? Governments derive all its power from the Constitution. An Indian Constitution is supreme, though it can be amended, that I'll let you know later on, right? But right now, what is it's a system, it's a document, right, of rules and regulation for the government so that it works for the welfare of the public, right? Let's move on to another slide now. Okay, so we have nature and features of the Constitution. Now, if you analyze, right, if you see constitutional law of the state is a supreme law, right? Now, what happened? It describes what the organization and power of the government, first thing, children. Then the principles and rules governing the struggle for power in the state, the relation between the people and their government, and its rights and duties of the people. Right. And if you see, the entire machinery of government is organized and worked in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. However, it must be clearly understood that the Constitution consists both the written constitutional laws of the state as well as the unwritten customs and conventions, which regulate the working of all governmental institutions in actual practice. Now, about written and unwritten constitution, I'll let you know later on what these words all about. Clear? So I hope so the nature and features of the constitution people all have understood. What is it? The organization and power, then the principle and rule, then the relation between the people and their government, right? And then if you see, it consists both written, that means it has written constitutional laws which the state can derive its power from it, and the unwritten customs and conventions where it can be written later on. The unwritten, that is not codified yet, but still they are there in the Constitution. Clear, everyone? Let's move on to another slide now. Now, kinds of constitution. So if you go for the constitution, right, so constitution is being divided into 6 kinds. Clear, everyone? So we have written constitution, unwritten constitution, rigid constitution, flexible constitution, evolved constitution, enacted constitution. Clear? And one-on-one basis, I let you know what is it all about. So if you see, every state, irrespective of the form of its government, must have its own constitution, Clear? In contemporary times, all states, whether democratic or authoritarian, have their constitution, though in both cases, different forms of constitutionalism are enshrined in them. No doubt, states are having the constitution, but their rules and regulations are different for different states or countries. Clear, everyone? So let's start with the very first constitution, and that is the written. Okay. Now, what is written constitution? First, I explain you what is the written constitution. That I have simply, I have given this written and unwritten in a single slide. What is it? Let's see now. A written constitution means a constitution written in the form of a book or a series of document combined in form of a book. Right, it is written in the form of book, that's why it is written. Clear? Now, if you see, it is planned and enacted constitution which is formulated and adopted by a constituent assembly or a council or committee or a legislature. So it is a planned and an enacted constitution, and who has adopted? Obviously constituent assembly that have drafted the constitution. Clear, everyone? So if you see, it provides for a definite design of government, institution, their organization, power, function, and interrelationships. It embodies the constitutional laws of the state, enjoys a distinct character, especially purity and place of supremacy. The government is bound by its provision. It has to work strictly according with its provisions. The constitution can be amended only in accordance with its corresponding provisions. A written constitution is a duly enacted constitution. Clear, everyone? So I hope so people have understood why now what is written. I mean, there are written, organizations. The powers are written for government institutions. Functions, interrelationships. All this embodies the constitutional laws of the state. Right, everyone? Now, if you see the examples now, the Constitution of India, the USA, Germany, Japan, Canada, France, Switzerland are written constitution. Right, and if you see, Constitution of India was drafted and enacted by the Constituent Assembly. If you remember, we did in class 9, which was constituted in 46, passed the constitution on 26 November 49, and constitution of, if you see, USA, like I'll let you know constitution of USA later on. So right now I'm not going to discuss, like it was drafted by Philadelphia Convention, right, that I'm going to discuss later on. So basically I already told you the meaning about written constitution means it is planned enacted constitution. Clear, everyone? Now come on to unwritten constitution. Clear, everyone? What is it? An unwritten constitution in which is neither drafted nor enacted by a constituent assembly. That means this drafting hasn't take place. Clear? It is also not written in the form of a book or one document. It is a product of slow and gradual evolution. The government is organized and it functions in accordance with several settled law and unwritten convention. The people know their constitution and they accept and obey it. However, they do not possess it in a written form. An unwritten constitution cannot be produced in the form of a book and shown to the students of politics, right? The institution of government owe their existence and working to historical charters, rules, precedents, and experiences. That means in sort of constitutions, what we have taken in an unwritten form, the historical charters, the rules and regulations, the precedents, and the experiences, right? And such a constitution is drawn from several sources. Now, how come these sort of constitution drawn if it is unwritten in form? Because it is not written or codified, like through historical documents, through legislative statutes, through judicial decisions, through scientific commentaries and conventions or meetings. Clear, everyone? So this way, this unwritten constitution formed and framed, and it's not like that it is ignored. It has to be followed by the people. Clear, everyone? So if you see, it is not codified and enacted by it, but still the public is following. Clear, everyone? Why? Because it is erupted from different sources. Clear? And if you see, however, this should not be taken to mean that unwritten constitution is totally unwritten. Some of its parts are available in a written form, but these do not stand codified in the form of legal document or code of law. Clear, everyone? So if you see, an unwritten constitution is one in which most and not all rules are unwritten, and these are not found in any one charter or document, right? And the best example of this constitution, unwritten constitution, is United Kingdom. Clear, everyone? Now if you see, like some writers opine that a constitution, in order to be accepted as a constitution, must be a constitution written in the form of a book, enacted by an assembly, and must contain a special procedure of amendment. The British Constitution has been an unwritten constitution. If you see, it has been never codified by British Parliament. No Constituent Assembly has finally formally drafted and passed it. It is not available to the form of a single written document. It lives in several charters, statutes, and judicial decisions. It functions on the basis of a large number of conventions and hence it is unwritten constitution. I hope so people have understood what is written and unwritten constitution. Clear everyone? Now let's see the differences. Right? Now differences between written and unwritten constitution are what? A written constitution is written in the form of a book or a document, whereas an unwritten constitution is not written in such a form. Clear children? A written constitution is a made and enacted constitution. It is made by Constituent Assembly or a council or convention of the people acting through their representatives. An unwritten constitution is a result of a slow and gradual process of constitutional evolution. It is a result of a growth, right? And it is not made by any one institution or council. A written constitution is usually less flexible than an unwritten constitution. Very often, if you say there is a written procedure for amending a written constitution, which is laid down in the constitution itself. An unwritten constitution depends mostly on convention, which do not require formal amendments. So, if it is unwritten, there no need of going for formal amendments like discussion in the parliament, then approval and ratification of the states. Right? If it is unwritten, it can very easily be amended. Right, then a written constitution is definite. Its provision can be quoted in support or against any power exercised by the government. An unwritten constitution cannot be produced in evidence. It has to be proved by quoting its sources and history of actual working. So I hope so people have understood by now what is written and unwritten constitution. Right everyone, let's move on to another slide now. Now come on to flexible constitution. Now, what is flexible constitution? Now, constitution can be classified on the basis of nature. Now, a flexible constitution is one which can be easily amended. Many political scientists define a flexible constitution as one in which the constitutional law can be amended in the same way as an ordinary law is made by the legislature. The legislature can pass constitutional amendments in the same manner by which it can pass or abolish ordinary law. Legislature here means parliament. Now, Britain presents a classic example of a flexible constitution. The British Parliament is a sovereign parliament which can make or unmake or amend any law whatsoever, whether ordinary or constitutional. This it can do by a simple majority. Clear everyone? This way we reach to the end of the video. So I hope so people have understood by now what is the constitution all about and what is the flexible constitution. What is the written constitution and what is a unwritten constitution, right? And if you see the difference between written and unwritten constitution, if you go for that means no constitution is totally written or totally unwritten. The difference between written and unwritten constitution is not organic. If you see in a written constitution, the written parts are in majority, right? And there are several unwritten parts in the form of conventions. In an unwritten constitution, most of the parts are unwritten in the sense that these are not written in the form of a book and these lay scattered in different documents. Along with it, in such a constitution, conventions regulate most of the organization and working of the government. Britain has an unwritten constitution, the USA has a written constitution. However, in both, there are present a large number of unwritten conventions which regulate the organization and working of their government, political institution and political processes. Written constitution, if you see, they work with the help of supplementaries provided by conventions. Right? As such, no real and organic distinction exists between written and unwritten constitution. If you see, like various, the famous scientists call the division between them as false, misleading. Clear everyone? So if you see in contemporary times, almost every democratic state has a written constitution. However, United Kingdom, New Zealand, Canada and few other countries continue to have unwritten constitution, right? So this way you people have understood, and if you really want to understand, flexible, so everyone knows, can be easily amended. The legislature can pass constitutional amendments, example Britain, can be amended by a simple majority. The changes can be easily done. So I hope so you people have understood by now what is the constitution all about. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to explain you more features in the next video about the constitution. So please don't get confused. This is not a new topic. We have already did in class 9th. Thank you, children.